welcome to my ramen workshop. So today I'm sharing the recipe of ramen, basic ramen, tonkotsu soup. So tonkotsu soup is very famous in my hometown Kagoshima in Japan, in Kyushu. So this recipe is a basic tonkotsu bone broth. And then ingredients. First, the meat bones. This is tonkotsu. Tonkotsu means pork bones, but we are using pork bones and chicken bones and some vegetables. So what we're using is the long white naganegi. You can use leeks or onions, garlic, ginger, kombu seaweed. So kombu seaweed, we're making the kombu, the soup stock, kombu dashi. So that video is going to be in another video. You can see the details of how to make the kombu dashi. So kombu is the seaweed, specific seaweed for making dashi, soup stock, Japanese soup stock. So bones, I have pig feet, and this is the leg bone, and that's the best part, but you can use any bones, but this is the feet, and then this big leg bones, top of the leg bones are the best. And I have chicken bones. This is a whole chicken, 2 chicken bones. This recipe is for 10 servings, and then the detailed recipe in the description is for 5 servings. As you know, the ramen is very addictive. The part of the addictive part is the soup stock. So soup stock needs to be really good for ramen. So it's a very time-consuming, with a simple ingredients, but it's worth taking time. Most of the ramen store have MSG in it to just enhance the flavor. The good part of homemade broth is that you can control the quality. So when I make my broth, I make sure that I get the organic bones because bone broth, you will be cooking the bones for 2-3 days, which means you're extracting everything from the bones, and then some of the impurity is in the bones and you don't want to eat that. So I would highly recommend to get the organic one from the local butcher or the food co-op or farmer's market even. So if you love ramen and if you have gone to many different ramen stores, they all have different soup stock recipes. And I am making the tonkotsu soup, which is very famous in Kyushu Island. If you go to Kyoto or Tokyo, you will see different soup stock, like even the fish soup stock, just the chicken broth, chicken bone broth, or the mix of everything. So you need to explore your own broth, so just combine everything. And then in the later video, I will probably show you and share my vegan recipe or other fish soup stock, which doesn't take long at all, so it's very easy. First you need to do is cleaning the bones. You will rinse them with running water, and you need to have plenty of hot water. So you're cooking the bones here for 15 minutes to clean. So this is already washed in the running water, drained. And then you're going to be putting all the bones you can use into boiling water. And chickens. And meanwhile, you can prep the vegetables. Some scoop up the scums. And just go ahead and then take all the scums out. And then like washing this later in the bowl. You don't have to be too thorough here because you're going to be discarding this water later anyway. The key for prepping the vegetable for soup stock, like this soup broth, soup stock, you're going to be cooking for a long time, so you don't want to chop the veggies too small. So garlics, if it's clean enough, I just wash as it is, and I don't even peel. I don't want to cut, I don't want to scratch anything, and then you can just use as they are. And ginger, I usually don't peel the ginger. If you want to peel, you can peel it, but before you peel, you can take out all these little parts. And if it doesn't come out easy, you can cut it. So this is where usually the dirts are, so you just need to take the little stems out and then wash it well. And all these old cuts, you want to cut it because that's where usually the mold, you want to cut them all. And onions, you wash under the running water. I'm usually using just the green part. If you're using the leek, same thing, you just need to use the green part. And then save the white part for later for layu, the flavored oil, or something else, stir fry or any other things. If you are using the leek, you do need to cut this into vertical and then wash it well. The dirts are right where green starts from white part. So you just need to wash this part really well. And then cut the brown part. And you don't need to cut into pieces. This is what you need. And if you're using the onion, cut the bottom. This could be very dirty, moldy sometimes. Take them out and take the outside peel. You need to cut the top. So I don't go all the way, so I will go just about till the end, so it's still connected, and then peel it. And that way you can peel easier. And this is how you use it. Now it's been 15 minutes. The chicken and then pork bones are cooking. I'll turn this off. And into the strainer. And just clean it with the running water just quickly so all the scums are off. After you clean the bones, cut them into little pieces as you can. You might need a really good knife. And if you are buying the bones from the butcher, ask them to cut them into smaller pieces. And the chicken bones are easy. You can use kitchen scissors. And I am using pressure cooker today. So if you're not making for 20-30 people, you can use the pressure cooker. And then after 3 hours of cooking, the bones are soft, so you can chop them into little pieces again. Now all the bones are in the pressure cooker. Put water in there. I'm using a hot water to just make it quicker. You don't want to put too much if you're using the pressure cooker. Maybe 2/3. If you are using the regular pot, you can use the bones and then all the vegetables at this point, and then you just cook it for 2 to 3 days. So you can use the slow cooker too. Now it's under pressure. Lower your heat to low. And 2 to 3 hours. That would be equivalent of regular pot cooking for, I would say, 24 hours. And the ramen soup stock, you want to cook. Usually the ramen stores in Japan, they say they would cook for 3 days straight. Now it's been 3 hours. I turned the heat off, and I made sure all the pressure is gone. So make sure it's gone before you open it. And then I'm gonna turn the heat back on. And here I am adding all the vegetables. If you're using the regular pot, the vegetables and the kombu soup stock is in there already. But if you're using a pressure cooker, you do it 3 hours, just bones and water. And now I am adding the kombu water with the kombu. And green part of long naganegi or leeks, and maybe onion if you want, garlic. I don't even peel, so I'm gonna put just a couple, and ginger. And now you're going to be cooking without pressure for 24 hours or maybe up to 48 hours. But if you want to save time, you can just go about an hour or 2 hours and then your soup stock is done. So now it's just starting to boil again after I added the vegetables. So you want to take out the kombu seaweed. You don't want to cook it too long. And this kombu seaweed you can chop up to small pieces and cook in kaeshi sauce, and it can be a really good condiment for rice. We call it tsukudani. When you're cooking the soup at home, either electric or gas, make sure you don't leave the house, even though you're cooking for a long time. If you're using the Instapot or slow cooker, you will be fine. But just make sure that you're with the pot while you're cooking. It's been 5 hours cooking under medium to low heat. And in tonkotsu soup in Kyushu Island, their soup are mostly opaque color. And you can use the pressure cooker, and then you can do a high heat, but make sure that water is always covering the vegetables and the bones. Some people, after the pressure cooker, they put the bones in the commercial blender to make it much smaller bones, and then cook it again in the soup. So that's an optional way to do it. So I cooked another 24 hours after the pressure cooking, 3 hours, and then it's ready to strain. So just let it sit for 5 minutes or so, all the soup stock is drained. You don't want to miss any drip after all this work. You can make a broth from here and then serve it, but I usually put the stock in the refrigerator overnight, and that way the oil goes on the top solidified, so you can scoop out the oil, the excess oil. So the bones looks like this after long time cooking, and it's been drained pretty well, and soup looks like this. And I will put it in a container and then put it in the refrigerator overnight. Now this is the soup stock, the tonkotsu soup, after one overnight refrigeration. So as you see, this is the oil on top. It's a lot of oil if you're using the pig feet. And I do not want all of this oil, so I usually scrape it off. It's easy to scrape it off. Just try not to scrape off the soup underneath. So underneath is kind of a jelloed soup. If you did a good job of getting the soup stock, you will have the soup stock like a jello. And then this oil is a keeper. I usually keep it in the refrigerator. It will last for, you can keep it for a few weeks if you just get the oil. And this is a great oil to use for stir fries. So I keep it. I usually use olive oil for everything, almost everything. But when I make a bone soup, this is my treat. So I change it to the little spoon, and still there's a lot of oil. And around here, you're gonna probably see the jello soup. Yep, there. So you can leave some of the oil because there are lots of flavors in the oil, but if you don't want the oily soup, just take as much as you want. I usually take about 2/3 of it and then leave the 1/3 there. So you can take out the oil pretty clean like this if the soup is still room temperature or warm. So you do need to refrigerate it overnight in order to take out the oil cleanly. Okay. Now finishing up the broth. So I'm warming the soup stock, tonkotsu soup stock here. And this is very concentrated, so you probably need to add water to make it enough for how many ever you're serving. I'm serving 10 people today for the temple people. So I need a little bit more with this huge yakan. And you can store the concentrated soup stock in a glass container or Ziploc in the freezer for a few months if you want to, and in the refrigerator for 3 or 4 days, and your soup is done. Here's a very important tip for cleaning after making ramen. Almost everything is so greasy, and you don't want all the grease in your drain. So before you take everything to the sink, I would wipe off the oil with a kitchen paper or a paper towel. Otherwise you will get a really big mess in your sink. And after you wipe off all the oil, just wash it with a regular soap.